Hi, I'm Mike DeShays, and welcome to A Focus on Safety. The seeds for this program were planted several years ago when the Finishing Department's Vehicle Group realized there wasn't a safety training program for vehicle operators. A group of hourly employees got together and took up the challenge. Shortly thereafter, some truckers said, "What about our concerns? We're worried about all the scooters darting in and out, and all the bicycles we have to look out for, and all the pedestrians we have to watch out for." Well, the Finishing Department's Vehicle Group went out and took a bunch of pictures and put together a slide presentation on pedestrian safety. What you're going to see today is an abbreviated version of that program. The driving force behind the program, the guy who brought pedestrian safety into the limelight at Warwick Operations, is Dick Rummage. Dick, tell us why you're so involved in pedestrian safety.
Well, Mike, there's several reasons. The main one is the fact that no matter what our job titles are here at Warwick Operations, at one time or another we are all pedestrians. And the sad part of it is that anytime there's an accident involving a vehicle or a scooter operator or a bicycle, it ends up in one of two ways: a very serious disabling injury or a fatality.
Dick, congratulations for a job well done. In the history of Warwick Operations, 8 people have died as a result of injuries sustained in accidents at Warwick Operations. Vehicles were involved in 6 of these.
That's right, Mike. And these are 8 fatalities that no one should ever forget. In 1965, a payloader operator suffered a broken neck with a ruptured spinal cord. In 1972, an employee was killed by a payloader that was backing up. In 1974, a fork truck operator was killed when he collided with a crucible of molten metal. In 1976, an employee while walking through the plant died when he was struck by a fork truck. In 1978, an employee fell through the roof onto the concrete floor. In 1983, a man was killed when operating a motorized vehicle and accidentally drove off the roof. In 1984, an employee was killed in a furnace explosion. In 1990, an employee was killed in an electrical short circuit.
Dick, I understand that you knew pretty well one of the men that was killed.
That's right, Mike. Matter of fact, this gentleman has just got through training me about 5 months prior to this. I worked with him at the area where this accident happened. This accident happened in January. It was cold, the boy was wearing dark coveralls, and he walked into the plant and saw his name on a layoff list. And like any of the rest of us, as soon as we see something like that, what happens is we're going to go try to find out why, how long, ask all the pertinent questions. We don't know what he was thinking when he walked out of there. We know he probably wasn't thinking about what was going on around him. He walked out between 2 little railroad cars, went to turn north, was struck from behind, and run over and killed. The amazing part about this is the gentleman who ran over him had no idea that anything had happened.
You know, Dick, here at Warwick Operations, we have a tremendous amount of traffic. It oftentimes reminds me of Highway 66 at shift change. Of course, we have a greater variety of vehicles here at the plant.
That's right, Mike. We have vehicles ranging all the way from bicycles, scooters, fork trucks, pickup trucks, payloaders, platforms, cruise haulers, and other vehicles all the way up to Big Red. We even got semis and other vehicles out here from vendors.
You know, even a 250-pound man is no match for any of these vehicles.
That's very, very true, Mike. The fact is that anytime there's a pedestrian and vehicle involved in an accident, the pedestrian is a guaranteed loser.
Isn't it true that many of us have a complacent attitude about pedestrian safety? We assume that because of where the driver is on these vehicles, that he or she has a very clear view of everything around them.
That's true. Part of the problem is blind spots. The mast creates a problem for the driver when he's driving forward. The fuel tanks and other parts of the headache rack are a problem when he's trying to back up. It obstructs his view. We have blind corners all over this plant. They are a definite problem. Lighting is also a problem. It's hard to make it as bright inside as what it is out here today. SWAT has developed a policy that anything under 6 feet in height has to have the SWAT flag. And I guarantee you, the trucker is going to see that long before he ever sees what's underneath it.
You know, Dick, clearly you can't assume that the driver can always see you. And it really is true that each one of us is responsible for our own safety. Now, in the program you've been instrumental in, there are 7 basic recommendations. Number 1, and very important, see and be seen. Secondly, practice common courtesy. 3rd, never jump into harm's way. 4, never put time before safety. 5, talk only where it's safe to have a conversation in the plant. 6, avoid Scud missiles. And 7, always be alert. Dick, if you would, give us some more details around these recommendations.
I'd be happy to. Number 1, and very important, is see and be seen. It is important that we make the eye contact with the drivers of these industrial vehicles. Along with making the eye contact, what's wrong with being friendly? Throwing up that hand. How many times have you been to a party or at a mall and seen somebody that you knew very well across the way? Wave at them and nothing happens. They've got something else on their mind. That's what I call being out to lunch. So when you make that eye contact with the driver, put up your hand. If they acknowledge it, you know that you're safe. At the same time, we have to remember that if you're on a scooter or a bicycle, it's very important that you have that SWAT flag on there. That is the first thing that a driver is going to see, long before he ever sees what's underneath it. That is your first line of defense. Tip number 2 is practice common courtesy. The question's asked a lot of times, who has the right of way? Well, if you ask a trucker, the trucker says the trucker should have the right of way. You ask a pedestrian, the pedestrian will tell you they should have the right of way. But the fact of it is, nobody should have right of way. What we need to do is practice common courtesy. Wave each other on. Tip number 3 is never jump into harm's way. Many times throughout the plant, a helper or somebody will be assisting the trucker in picking up something, whether it be a coil, a skid of metal, scrap, or whatever. They get everything ready, they'll wave the trucker to come in and go ahead and do the job. Just as the trucker starts to move in, they'll see something that needs to be adjusted just a little bit, and without thinking, we jump in there to try to adjust it before he gets there. Now, you put yourself in a pinch point, you're out of the view of the trucker, and you're in definite danger. What should happen in a case like this, we need to stop for a second. Stop the trucker, wave him off. He'll stop, back away. We can make the adjustments as necessary, stay out of harm's way, then the trucker can go ahead and complete the job. Tip number 4 is never put time before safety. Once we punch in, there's only 2 ways that we're going to leave here early. Number 1 is there's something we have to do, we contact somebody, get a pass, and we leave. And number 2 is they take us out of here in an ambulance. So what is the hurry? Take that extra minute or 2 and be safe. Tip number 5, talk where it is only safe to talk. If we were all perfectly honest with one another, we'd have to admit that one time or another, we have stopped in the middle of an aisleway or around a blind corner to carry on a conversation. Swansea, Wales, in January 1985, suffered a fatality just like this. A supervisor and an engineer stopped to carry on a conversation about a project they had going. A trucker coming around the corner, as he did, they remained in his blind spot. He struck him. The supervisor was killed instantly, and the engineer was crippled for life. Why not take the time and move off to the side out of harm's way? Tip number 6, avoid the Scud missile. Now, what am I talking about there? Any loose object laying on the floor, when it's run over by any vehicle out there and pinched out from underneath the tire, it's going to send it sailing. We don't have any idea where it's going to go or who it's going to hit, and it may be you. So if you see something laying out there in the aisleway, pick it up or at least kick it out of the way. Tip number 7, always be alert. Expect the unexpected. We have so many things going on out here. We have all kind of vehicle traffic. We also have mechanical failures. It could be as simple as a vehicle suddenly appearing around a blind corner or coming out of an aisleway. We all have to stay alert.
So there you have it, 7 tips for pedestrian safety at work operations. Let's review them one final time. See and be seen, practice common courtesy, never jump into harm's way, never put time before safety, only talk where it's safe to have a conversation, avoid Scud missiles, and always be alert. Dick, thank you for all you've done here at Warwick for pedestrian safety. Do you have any final comments?
Yes, I do. One thing that we have to remember, No matter how hard the safety department works, our individual safety committees, our committee members work, whether they're union or they're salary. It's up to each and every one of us to be alert and to stay safe. It's up to all of us to focus on safety.